On the left, if you push that slider button on,
This is not working, my glasses fogging up.
I know. Just sound really stumpy. Just push. John Payne,
I'm here.
Jason Crash,
Here.
Nick Pulley,
He's excused absent.
Chad Peters,
Here.
Keith Peterson.
Here. So let's first have an approval of the minutes from last meeting. If anybody has any?
John,
Yeah.
pledge allegiance.
Oh, you're right. Pledge allegiance and.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you mind standing while we pray? Our Father, we're thankful so much for your great love for us, and we pray as we continue tonight, you would guide us and be with us and show us your presence in us in this meeting, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Now we can have a approval of the minutes from last meeting. If there's no corrections or comments,
I propose a motion to accept the minutes of March 26th.
I'll second that.
a second. So we have all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. We have no public forum. So we're going to, for the sake of Daniel being able to have to leave early, he's gonna give us an update on the, we're gonna jump down to item 8C or B. Daniel, if you wanna go ahead and be available, we're gonna talk about the ransomware attack. If you could give us kind of an overview, and then if we have any questions, we can give them to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I think you all know that we got hit by ransomware on April 9th, and it brought down our entire network. So we had to first work with insurance to approve a forensic team to start investigating this, and that it took about a week to get approval and pick a group and get them into the system and get them what they needed so they could start analyzing some of the data. So once we got the approval from them, I think that was Monday or Tuesday last week, we were able to start wiping some of our systems here and start rebuilding them. So at this point, we're about probably 90% back up. Few odds and ends here and there that we're still trying to get up. From what we could tell from the forensic team so far, at least, nothing was taken out of the system, but they are still working on analyzing that. We did pose that question today, though, if they thought anything had been taken out, and they still don't think anything has yet. I'm gonna get an update on Tuesday next week to find out, if that's changed by then. I don't know how close they are to finishing their investigation, but I would imagine they're probably getting fairly close.
Are they the ones that are breaking all the encryption?
No, they're just looking at trying to figure out what the malware was doing exactly, trying to see the pattern of it and if it was trying to take anything out, and if there's any signs of where it was hiding at and how it got in and how it spread.
So the way I understand it, most of our Athena files weren't affected. We
None of
didn't
those
lose any of those, but our Meditech files were the ones that were attacked, and those are the ones that are basically over the home health and the Eagle Crest and things like that, right?
Yeah. Well, not Eagle Crest, but
Not Eagle Crest, okay.
Eagle Crest, I don't think is even on the EMR. But yeah, home health, because it's a virtual server that we have, the way those virtual servers sit on the physical server are as files. And one of those, well, not one, but quite a few of those virtual servers got encrypted fully. So there was nothing we could do to get anything off them, other than, possibly pay a ransom and then have, a really small chance that it's going to actually decrypt properly. Because they don't typically work. They usually just get corrupted whenever you try to do it. You still don't get anything off of it.
So we're talking back and forth with insurance and the lawyers. Usually if you do pay a ransom, there's only a small portion that you do get back, if any. They said the last facility that they were working with got 5 or 10% of their data back. So we chose a route of not paying the ransom. They usually do it in Bitcoins. They wanted 4.5 Bitcoins, which is about 37,000. They did barter them down to about 16,000, but we chose to just, take the hit and keep going. Most of the files that were lost were with home health, and our population size there is very small, so.
So what kind of steps are we taking now to prevent this in the future?
Yeah, so what we found was that an old account got used that had a high level of privilege to the network, and that's what it was used. So they brute forced their attack on that account, which is basically just trying tons of passwords on it until they got it. And then they used that account to log into one of our servers and then push out the virus from there. So we've gone through all of our accounts, and anything that we even question, we just disabled. So it's not necessarily accounts that we don't know what they are. They're just, if it's from a company that maybe only uses it once a year, or maybe not even at all. They just wanted it whenever they first got set up, and then I don't know how often they actually use it. So we just went through and we disabled everything for right now, unless a company calls and says, hey, I'm trying to get in, I can't do it. Then we'll give them access again, but we'll force a password reset on them before they are allowed to log back in. We also force every account to have a password reset. So in case any other account was compromised, they would have to know what the new password is.
Okay. Any other questions, comments about that?
We're using Carbon Black right now to monitor everything on our network. We'll be doing that for the next month. So they're watching every application and all the traffic that goes through our network. So if they see anything suspicious, and they have all the basically the virus definitions that they're comparing everything against on top of our antivirus that we already have here. So if they see anything, they can immediately isolate the system that they're seeing weird activity on.
But that's not something we would continue on?
No, it's not cheap. But just while we're rebuilding the network right now, and insurance can cover the cost of it. But
What internal protections have you put in place? Like, if somebody's logged onto their computer and they're not attending their computer for, say, a period of 3 minutes, does it log them off?
and it has a 10-minute lockout,
10 minutes?
which goes by very quickly, according to most people, because they'll, like, I just barely turned around and I was already locked out.
Yeah, ours is 3 minutes at work and I hate it.
Oh, yeah. I would love to do 5 minutes, but 10 minutes got me a lot of complaints, so I decided to just call it good there.
I know one way that I've heard that this enters in is through users going to a site that they shouldn't go to, or, opening an email, or
Yeah,
what kinds of precautions do we have against that? I mean,
yeah, we do use a web filter here, and it blocks a lot, and a lot of things that are legitimate, and I'm sure they can all attest to that. We also have web or email filtering that does filter out a lot of emails, but there's no 100% way to stop that. We have done training with people to help them spot suspicious emails from just, if you look at the email address, that's usually the first sign that it's not legitimate, or someone's just got a link sent to you and you're like, what's this about? Or someone's asking you to make a payment for something that you don't know what it is. Those are usually pretty good signs.
Yeah, I think training is a real important aspect to have people know that they shouldn't be checking that stuff out. So.
On a positive note, we did have cyber insurance, so that will cover most of the costs. Well, we have a $2,500 deductible, but our insurance is up to $1 million, so it will cover a big portion of the rebuild and everything. So,
What do you think this is, as of right now, what do you think this is gonna cost the hospital?
just a rough estimate
Yeah,
over
just a ballpark.
250,000. And that's just a rough estimate, between the lawyers and the carbon black, which is, really, really expensive, but
And that's after insurance?
no. Our cost is just the deductible,
Oh, okay.
$2,500.
Yeah.
But like an overall cost of
Okay.
putting all the applications back on the computers and everything is up around 250,000.
I'm still working with insurance on licensing costs, because that's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Office alone is gonna be over 50,000, just to reinstall Microsoft Office and those licenses. And we still got, data center licensing for our servers that we gotta get back. And SQL
What about,
licensing.
Indirect costs like loss of productivity, traffic through the hospital, things like that.
I don't know for sure about the overall indirect costs, but I do.
It's hard to quantify that
Yeah,
by definition.
we do, we were slow at the time anyways with the COVID-19, and we had a lot of things shut down. And with Athena still up, we still had our web-based platform that we build out of, so we didn't lose any revenue that way as far as patient billing and things like that, because we were still functioning that way as a facility. So that was a plus side to have our EMR still up and running for the most part. We did purchase some, after our last incident with the phones, we purchased some Verizon hotspots. We purchased 3 of those, and we set those up in the ER, the clinic, and then up at the business office. And we still functioned as a facility, so.
I will say the psychological stress is probably the
Yeah,
most.
that's
Our
what-
poor
that's the
IT
worst.
guys have just been working.
I was just gonna say, there's probably some holes in the wall somewhere.
You won't find them.
You'll never find.
And so this is probably a silly question. What is the possibility that an attack like this, after we get past it, plants a Sentinel program that still exists that we don't know about?
Yeah, that's always a fear, and that's partly why we're running Carbon Black, so that they can monitor everything and hopefully detect anything like that that's sitting out there. I mean, it doesn't look like, from what we've seen, it doesn't look like it did that. Like, basically just kind of pushed out from one place, or maybe 2. But I suspect really just one place, just from one server, and just kind of pushed out from there, because the time it took to do its encryption it didn't move super fast, it didn't look like, so I don't think it spread itself and duplicated everywhere, but I'm not an expert in ransomware either, so I'm not gonna say that's for sure. it looked like it also was just using this one account to push it. And once we had shut down that account, it pretty well stopped everything, once we figured that out.
This coming Tuesday at 9 o'clock, we have a meeting or a phone conference with our lawyer and Cura, which is the forensic team, and they'll give us the full scope, and we'll know where to go from there.
I may not have mentioned, but we did completely wipe every system that did get infected, which was roughly 115 workstations and pretty much every server. So we're still working on the server side. We haven't been able to shut everything down because we had a lot of data that was not affected, that we've been trying to move over to clean servers that then we'll shut down the old ones and hopefully never have to look back at those.
Well, Daniel, we want to thank you guys, you and Mario and Josh. Really appreciate your hard work and getting us through this, and thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
So we'll go back to our normal agenda. We have the medical staff report. If you have a chance to look over that, we need to approve their report that they submitted to us. Nate was there, but he's not here to give us any kind of insight or input or any fights that went on to do the report.
I'll propose a motion to accept the staff minutes as presented for March 12th, 2020.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. So we have some reappointments. We're going to, letter C is not one of them we need to do, but B and D need to be approved, reappointment improvements, so.
What's going on with C?
I put it on the agenda prematurely, and,
we're following up on a couple of questions on there, re-licensing, re-credentialing, so, and I didn't get it done.
Okay.
Table until next time.
So I'll make a motion for the reappointment of 2 years to Harry Redding to Diversified Radiology and Consulting Staff.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
And propose motion for the reappointment of 2 years to Randall Short to active staff, Rangeley District Hospital.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, so now we'll move to the compliance report. Wendy, if you want to give us your report, please.
So, since our last meeting, it's been a whirlwind of trying to keep up with new mandates and regulations passed down from the governor and CDPHE. There's been a policy change, what seems to be like a daily basis. So updates to procedures, more data and practices around COVID-19. All of this has been done through, of course, our ransomware attack on our personal emails and using our phones as our hotspots. I believe that we've managed to keep up with our required reporting, which is very little required reporting right now through EM Resource in the ED and SHIP grant activities through HIM without missing any deadlines, as well as coming through any emails that we've gotten through our contacts with WHA and CRHC because we lost them all in our emails because everything was electronic. Tony Foos with Telligent has been really helpful getting us pertinent information to keep up with infection control, which Mackenzie and I have been trying to keep up with since our infection prevention nurse is in the middle of a pandemic for our county. She's also our public health nurse. But we've been keeping up. All CMS and MBQIP reporting right now is optional for this reporting period, and they will continue to keep us updated on that. Right now, it's patients before paper. So that's been nice. Any reporting that we do will not reflect any of our actual hospital performance due to COVID. We're working on, we finished our prevention and response plans, both for RDH and Eagle Crest today, and got those submitted to CDPHE. Those were due tomorrow. It was an amended mandate from Public Health Order 2020. We have we already had all the necessary strategies in place, from building policies and documentation. And last week we had our visit from CDPHE for a focused infection prevention survey. I don't know, Kyle, if you want to talk about that, or you want me to?
Go ahead.
We had our survey. The surveyors came for a focused infection prevention survey. We had our exit interview, and we had a deficiency-free survey. So that was nice in the middle of all of that. And it's now closed. And right now we're preparing for a new normal as our county begins to open up, and we'll just adjust our processes as we learn.
Did you want to comment on any more on that exit interview?
Yeah, it was a surprise inspection. We got a little bit of a heads up through Meeker because they inspected Pioneers a couple weeks ago. They let us know, and they never showed up here, so we were kind of surprised that way. And then they showed up in Meeker again at Pioneers, and then they came here the next day. So they were really, really, really nice to us, as far as they wanted to be here to help us out if we needed help, give us any guidance that we needed for the COVID-19 pandemic. But it was focused just on if we're following all these guidelines that they've been sending down, to see if we were in compliance. And one thing that really helped us out was having our ICS structure and command center in the boardroom we had set up from the beginning, because we could show them that Wendy and Paulo were sending out updates every day. We just sent them all the emails that they sent out since we implemented the command center. And they wanted to make sure that information was getting down to the front line. So they didn't spend a lot of time with us as administrators. They went straight to the nurses, the aides, and talked to them. And they did a really good job. So I got to commend the staff, our employees that stepped up and implemented all these policies that have been changing, that Wendy talked about, that have been changing every day. And that structure, got to thank the county, Ty Gates. He came down and they helped us implement that. And it really helped out. I mean, it was a smooth process once we got figured out kind of our responsibilities, and employees were coming up with ideas on how to make our facility ready for the pandemic. And I can't be more grateful for everybody that stepped up. That's all I had.
Okay, Jimmy, we have a financial report.
Okay, well, it's going to be fairly limited because with the cyber attack, we weren't able to prepare the standard financial statements. We expect by the end of next month, we'll definitely be able to do that. So sorry about that. As far as financials go, our unrestricted cash balance is about $8.5 million. And we have been watching for financial assistance and grants and that sort of thing related to COVID-19. A couple of the highlights are that we received about $395,000 from CMS. They gave every hospital a certain amount of money based on their number of beds. We just found out this morning that our loan from the Paycheck Protection Program was approved. We are getting about $1.6 million. Most of that money won't have to be paid back as long as we stick to payroll, use that money for payroll. We also got a $70,000 SHIP grant for coronavirus response. I'm not sure what the reporting, we do have to report on what we use that money for. I'm not aware of the reporting requirements yet, but I'm keeping an eye out for those. We've also applied for other grants. through various other departments. For example, Shanna has, with EMS, has applied for some sterilization equipment. Senior Life Solutions just received a grant to buy iPads and stuff so that they can do they can see their patients remotely. And we are in the process of ordering and getting those set up. Going forward, we're just going to continue watching for any other opportunities. And as I said, we'll have the formal statements by the end of May.
Can you give us an idea of our stats as far as, I know they're much lower, do you have an idea of that percentage of how much less we've done this last month?
Not really. As we go into next month, we'll have a lot clearer picture of that.
Okay.
And we can definitely present something more, but as of right now, we don't really have a good idea.
I would say we're down at least 60%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Starting tomorrow, we're gonna try to get back up to the 80% range, with the telemedicine and scheduling more visits. We're gonna open up our physical therapy, mammograms, our routine appointments that we haven't been doing. So we'll see an increase in stats starting tomorrow going forward, so.
What type of staff restrictions did you guys have during this pandemic? Any?
So we didn't have any staff restrictions.
So all hourly employees and salary employees remained employed and working at the facility?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
The $395,000, it's COVID money, is that unrestricted or does it have to be spent on efforts applied to what's happening to the COVID response?
that's unrestricted.
That's
It was
nice.
just,
Nobody ever gets $400,000 of unrestricted cash, that's
And isn't
awesome.
that mostly for operating costs?
Yeah, it was for operating costs for the month of April
Yeah.
when we implemented all this. So we figure we lost probably between 300 and 500,000 for every month that this goes on. So that was about in the ballpark of what our revenue would have been this month.
The best part is, if I understand the law correctly, we don't have to pay taxes on any of that money either.
Yeah. And with the Paycheck Protection Program, the 1.6 million, as long as it's for payroll, we wouldn't have, I don't believe that we'll have to pay it back. I think, it's not absolutely certain, right? But it's looking like we won't have to pay it
It
back.
is.
It is,
Oh.
it is. If you use it for payroll, then,
Yeah.
and they could come back and say, and question some of, that's why it's really important for, I got the same loan and I'm documenting all the money that I open another checking account just so I can make sure they see I spend it on just payroll. And
Is there an indefinite amount of time that you have to expend that on payroll?
well, I know they told us 2.5 months is what that's the amount of money you're supposed to ask for is 2.5 months worth of payroll. And after those 2.5 months, then I don't know what they're gonna say. They haven't really told us what to do, if you should pay back what you don't or keep it. You can keep the money at the end. It's like a 1% interest rate. So might be an attractive, I'm thinking about it, in fact, to roll some of my other debt into it. But I don't know what, they haven't really said, what's gonna happen at the end. The rollout of that thing was, and just trying to find out information like that is like, it's just not there. They just said, oh, we'll give you this money. And they had no idea how they were gonna give it or how much you could get, or, it was really, really kind of weird.
At first, it wasn't available for critical access hospital or government entities. That just rolled out just recently. They made it available for government entities. So,
And it's really gonna help a hospital like ours.
Yeah.
Smaller hospitals, certainly.
so we're gonna see this impact down the road in 18 months or so is where we'll see most of this impact, as far as reimbursement and everything.
Well, Jim, if that's all you can tell us, then we'll move on. I really appreciate trying to get something to us so that we can have a good understanding of where we're at, but
Thank you.
As soon as you get some of that stuff, I'd appreciate it if you could forward that to us though, so we can look at it. I appreciate some of those, a more detailed report and stuff, so.
Sure.
If it's before next meeting, if it's not, I guess we'll just wait till next month.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, going to old business. I guess Kyle, you would be up to explain what's going on there, right?
For CEO notes.
CEO at the phone.
Yes. There we go.
Well, yeah, basically, you would be CEO.
Hopefully I cover everything
If not,
with my updates.
we'll come back to it.
If I miss anything, let me know. As far as hospital positions, we're still looking for nurses. We're setting up like a roadmap for our homegrown nurses, what we call them, when, coming up through the facility, for CNAs or aides on the floor, that they can have a pathway, and to let them know that pathway early so they can get enrolled into CNCC, and then help them after they graduate from nursing school and get them locked into a contract. So Paulo's been working on that. We are still looking for providers. We have an interview tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, and we'll go over that in the executive session, over her resume. We signed with, the Colorado Hospital Association helps us. We do pay dues to them, and they do help us with that search. And then we also signed with Jackson Physician Search to help us out. They have a broad range that they can go nationally and look for physicians. And then Dr. Urish and Dr. Sutton are helping us out with that too. So we are looking still into the rural health clinic transition. We're just waiting to see if we're in a health provider shortage area, and that's kind of the key point. That's what we're waiting on. So they initially said that we'd have to wait till next year to find that out because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but they told us a couple weeks ago that they could do that earlier than anticipated. So I think we'll know within the next couple of months if we're in that category. The board election, the ballots are out. Deadline's May 5th at 7 o'clock. Just encourage everybody to get out and vote. We kind of went over the coronavirus update. We had the one positive and one recovered. There's been 94 tested in the Rio Blanco County as of yesterday. 14,758 in Colorado. And like I said, the command center we set up has helped out with that response. We talked about the state inspection. We're just following the guidelines, the state guidelines and mandates. Tomorrow we'll open up for non-essential routine appointments so we can get back going. We still are going to be heavy on taking temperatures at the door, wearing masks. We still got to protect that vulnerable population in long-term care and Eagle Crest. Just reading the articles in the news, you hear about the long-term care facilities that have like 90 patients that die and stuff. It just wipes them out. So we're going to be really focused on protecting them. And we're going to try to do, from the clinic point of view, as far as appointments, the high-risk patients, we'll still try to do telemedicine, try to keep them home at the most, and keep them isolated until things start to die down. We did increase our Meals on Wheels. I can't remember the number.
It's at least doubled.
Yeah, it's at least doubled to help out those in need. They've been doing a great job. We had a company from Roosevelt that contacted us, and it was pretty quick. It was Panhandle Oil Service, and they contacted us and wanted to raise a flag in front of our facility, and I thought that was really nice in support of healthcare workers and grocery workers.
Is that Dustin?
And, yeah,
Dustin Iver?
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, he's really nice. He brought it over, set it up for a couple hours, and I don't know if you saw the Facebook post, but it was really cool. We had an employee that wanted to start to help out like the local businesses as well with the t-shirts. Gina Lewis came up with an idea and do the hashtag Brainsley Strong.
Do you want me to walk up and down?
No, we don't.
I get that a lot, honestly.
So those are for sale, for $20 if anybody's interested. All proceeds are gonna go to the town. We'll just give it to the town. They can decide what to do with it and how to distribute that money. So we talked about the ransomware attack. Daniel said about 90% was back up and running, which is great. Something else that I've been working on is the hospital foundation, to get a foundation for the hospital. We'll need to vote on a name. So there's two different ways that you can set up the foundation. One is independently separate from the hospital, and the other is through the hospital, through the board. And talking with one of the lawyers that I talked to, she said that most hospitals set it up through the board so you can have that support and at least have one board member on the foundation. And then you guys as a board will pick who is on that foundation. So we're still in the process of working through the bylaws to get that set up. But we do need a name for the foundation. I have an example there that I thought, Rangeley District Hospital Foundation. But that will need to be voted on hopefully tonight. If you guys think of a different name, if you want a different name, you're more than welcome to shoot out any ideas. And then we would open the process for candidates, and it'd be by application. And they could submit an application to you guys, and you can review them and then pick who you want to be on the foundation. At least 3, we'll put the minimum of 3 board members for the foundation, and a maximum. There's no real maximum, so we could say 15. You don't have to fill all those slots, but you could have a big board or a small board. It's just up to you guys as a hospital board. Do you guys have any thoughts on the foundation or any direction you want to go?
Do you have criteria for potential candidates?
We will
set out.
Yeah, we can set that up. It would be like a hospital board application, basically telling a little bit about themselves, their qualifications, and why they want to be on the board. And we can go over that as well, like the application.
So who's doing the bylaw, the lawyers or?
So the bylaws will be done by the lawyers, yeah. It was a firm so I contacted our local CPA, and Marlo said that there's too much with the hospital being a government entity, to set up all those. Because she did set up the local food bank. But we needed more advice, more, there's a lot.
Comfortable.
Yeah, she wasn't comfortable doing that. So I contacted my brother-in-law, who's a CPA in Denver, and then he sent out an email to all of his contacts, and they set me up with Pam, and her firm had a lawyer that was knowledgeable in this aspect. So that's who I'm working through. It's a law firm out of Denver.
So how many, you said, I heard you say a minimum of 3 board members on the foundation?
Correct.
With one of them being the board member.
With one of them being.
Oh, 3 board members, I misunderstood. I thought that 3 board members from our board.
No,
Would be,
I did.
so there'll have to be at least a minimum of 3 to have a board.
Right.
I misunderstood.
And one of those three would be one of the hospital board members. So you could have that.
Right. I would think that a 5-member board would be a good number, seeing as how 3 would be, I don't know, maybe we could start out small, but what do you guys think? I don't think more than 5 necessarily. I don't know if we could get 5 people.
Yeah, that's why I kind of said it at 3, and if you can fill it with 5, then, or 10, or, however. But I guess that's my thoughts were on setting the minimum at 3, is to fill it, and then if you can get more.
Yeah, let's see what kind of participation we get, and then if it needs to go up, it can certainly go up.
Yeah.
To start with, yeah.
Well, I just think 3 people, it might be hard for 3 people to generate a lot of interest. I mean, depending on the people, I suppose, who they are, if they want to go out and really go get it type of people.
What do you think for time-wise, like commitment for them, like quarterly instead of monthly?
Yeah, so they'd have
Yeah.
quarterly meetings.
Quarterly meetings and set up try to find out what kinds of things that they would be interested in accomplishing. Certainly searching for grants and searching for ways to promote the hospital and maybe even ask for donors and things like that, so. Fundraising things to help find some certain things in the hospital that aren't really addressed, maybe that we could promote, or we could help finance even, or however we want to do that with grants or donations or things.
So the majority of it would be for the grants. A lot of grants out there require a 501(c), and we don't have that set up, so we would have that. It would broaden our application process, and we could apply for those grants that are out there. I see a big portion of the funds coming from grants.
So what do you think of the name, Rangeley District Hospital Foundation? Is that too generic?
Very creative.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith. So, yeah, and that's up for discussion as a board if you want to go with something else.
Well, I haven't given it much thought, so I think that would be a little bit more to think or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know that you would want to call it anything else. I mean, truly, it's,
It's what it is, right?
yeah, it's to support the hospital. So what you don't want to give off the impression is that your foundation has a different mission than the institution that it's trying to support. And so I don't know that creativity is called for in this case.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay. Well, we have 2 people that think it's,
Our logic behind the name too was kind of to tie it to our legal name.
yeah. And I was just wondering if our campus name would be, I don't think that would be necessary here.
That would be really long.
Well, that's one thing, yeah.
RCMCA.
So, yeah, I think maybe if we just tie it right to the hospital itself would be the best thing anyway. You have any more discussion on naming the foundation other than that? And we could have that approved. I would entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. So there you go. There's our new name.
Good job.
All right.
And then we'll just continue the process, and then I think going forward, in our next meeting, we'll have a new board really, and that would be the time to probably find out if we can appoint a member who would be interested in being a part of that. So. Anything else then?
No, I'll work on the applications. If you guys want input on that, just get a hold of me, and But I'll probably just set that up like as if they were applying for a board position, similar to that. And then you guys can review them as a board. And if there's anybody that you want me to reach out to, I'll reach out to them. I've already reached out to one person to, entertain the idea, so.
We'll start compiling a list. I think we can each kind of think of 1 or 2 or 3 people that we think would be good candidates and submit them to you.
Yep.
Go from there. Okay,
That's all I have.
anything else, anybody? So anybody?
Actually, I do have one more thing.
Oh, okay.
So Senior Life Solutions, Lisa's been working really hard on dedicating next month to Mental Health Awareness Month. So we signed, Lisa appearing from the town came up and signed a proclamation declaring next month as Mental Health Awareness. So we'll be doing a lot of different activities. You might be seeing the employees walking around the hospital. They're encouraged to take a lap for mental health. So that might be going on throughout the week and month.
Just out of curiosity, with everybody kind of being self-quarantined and everything else, did you guys see any input?
So we have through one. No,
Our COVID pandemic thing on Mondays, are you talking about that?
no, maybe just a second, it'll come to our mental health, Mind Springs. We had Mind Springs, they're on the call with us in the mornings. Michelle Huber,
Yeah.
she's on the call with us, and she says she has seen a significant increase in appointments. So, and it's mainly loneliness and depression and, it's isolation,
Job loss.
job loss. Yeah,
So
It's
I
huge.
also talked to Catherine, who is the therapist for Senior Life Solutions, and set it up so employees can reach out to Catherine and meet with her during this time too.
Yeah, they're open, it's an open door, they can reach out to her, so,
She's a real good asset.
yeah.
So anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up this time? Okay, I just want to mention a couple of things, so mainly one. So we will be having a new board sworn in next month. I'm hoping it's going to be very similar to this board, frankly, but we'll have at least one new member because Nate won't be with us anymore. And one of the things that I talked about a little bit last month about board education, I think we want to take the next 6 months really and work on that within taking time during our meeting to work on some aspect of that. So we look forward to doing that, and I'll be kind of heading that up a little bit, working with Kyle on getting that implemented too. So we thought we'd just wait until after the new board is set, and then we can begin working on that. So if there's nothing else, we do have some executive session things we have to discuss. So I would entertain a motion to go to executive session. If whoever makes that motion, I'll read the reasons why that are stated here.
I'll propose a motion to go into executive session on the basis for executive session on personal matters, including consideration of options for resignations and negotiations as well.
I'll second that.
Okay, and a second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. So if we could just take a moment, we'll go into executive session, and Dr. Abby's gonna stick around with us for a few minutes, and then we will do that. So just give us about 2 minutes. I gotta run out of there.
I paused it, Jody.
Oh, okay, thank you.